This video will help you review how to graph quadratic equations when they're in intercept form, how we see it here. So what does it mean when it's in intercept form? Your quadratic expressions will look like the following. So it's going to be y equals, the first number is a, parentheses, x minus p, and x minus q. So on here, the three variables that are replaced with numbers are a will be a number, p will be a number, and q will be a number. So let's go ahead and identify those in our problem that we have here on this expression in this form. So there's no number outside the parentheses, so that means that a is going to be 1. P will be 2, and q will be the 6. So for part A, to answer if the parabola opens up or down, we're going to use the value of A. So since A equals 1, that means that the parabola opens up. Not because it equals 1, but because A is positive. So every time A is a positive value, that means that your parabola will open up. So if you were to graph it, it would look like a U. The next part is identifying the x-intercepts, which we get them from the opposite of P and Q. So P is going to be -2 and Q will be +6. But because we're going to be graphing those x-intercepts, let's write them as order pairs. So -2, 0 and +6, 0 will be the 2 points that you're going to be plotting in your graph. And we're going to go ahead and plot those points right now because they're actually going to help us find the vertex. So let's go ahead and set up our graph here. Let's draw our x-axis and let's draw our y-axis here. So it's important to remember that we are taking the opposite of P, how we see it in our equation, and the opposite of Q to determine what the x-intercepts are. So because these points are the x-intercepts, that means that they're going to be on that horizontal line on your x-axis. That's why they're called intercepts. X-intercepts is when it crosses those 2 points. So we have one at -2, so that's one of our x-intercepts, and we have one at 6, so there's our other point there. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using those 2 points to find the vertex. Again, the vertex in this case is the lowest point because the parabola opens up. And it is a point, like I said, so we'll start with finding the x-intercept, which is the middle of the 2 points that we have there, since your vertex is in the middle. So the middle of these 2 points is 2. So that means that the x-coordinate of our vertex is going to be at 2. And we can double check here that yes, both of those points are halfway. So there are 4 units on the right and 4 units on the left. So that way we know that we do have the middle of those 2 points. So as mentioned, the x-coordinate would be +2. And now that we have our x-coordinate, the question is, how do we find the y? The y, we find it by using the equation, meaning everywhere we see x in our equation, we're going to replace it with the x value that our vertex is. So in these 2 places where you see x in your problem, we'll replace it with +2. So we're going to set this up, plug in the values for x, and then we're going to use PEMDAS to solve. So PEMDAS says that we're going to solve the inside of the parentheses. So we get 4 for the inside of the first parentheses, and we get -4 for the inside of the second parentheses. All those numbers are together, so that means you're multiplying those numbers. Because you're multiplying, doesn't matter the order, but we'll start with the first 2 numbers. So that's how we got the 4, bring down the -4 and multiply those 2 numbers together, you get -16. So our vertex is going to be at that point, 2, -16. Forgot to put the -16 on the y, but it should be -16. So let's go ahead and graph it here. I'm going to go by 4s. And below 0 are your negative numbers, so that's why we're graphing these values on below 0 here. So let's fix that 14 to 16 since I was going by fours. And here is my vertex. So that is going to be the lowest point of my graph. 2, negative 16. It's going to fix that 16 there. Kind of look like a 10. So there, looks better now. So now that I have my vertex, I have a point on the left and a point on the right, I can sketch my graph. And just like we said earlier, it opens up. And that's how you graph points when they're in this form here, which is called intercept form, since it gives us the intercepts, the x-intercepts of our equation. I hope that you found this video helpful.